This is the craziest part of all. This week, Iran welcomed senior Turkish military officials in Tehran. Discussions were held on Israel's misadventures and other topics. This meeting with Turkish and Iranian military officials taking place right before we all know Israel's about to launch a new war on Iran and or Hezbollah is a massive, massive development. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is currently en route to the United States. He's flying to meet Trump at Mar-a-Lago. Trump is trying to establish some goodwill, some big announcements for the new year. Today, he's meeting with Zelensky. He wants to have a big announcement in the war, hopefully January for the Russia-Ukraine conflict. What he wants to avoid in particular is allegedly war with Iran. He wants to avoid that. He wants to avoid the Lebanese ceasefire breaking down, which it probably will after December 31st. And he wants to have this big announcement, and Jared Kushner will surely make a lot of money because he's the primary investor in this whole project, for turning Gaza into some blockchain cryptocurrency tax haven, AI slop fest, Hasbara, Ben Shapiro, Winter Wonderland, Disneyland 4.0. Like, that's what they want to turn Gaza into on the principle provided by Jared Kushner. Now, do I think that Donald Trump actually doesn't want a war? Difficult to say. Really difficult to say. Do I know that everyone around Trump, the deep state, the State Department, Rubio, the Pentagon, U.S. Army, CIA, FBI, everyone else wants war. They want the war in Iran. They want the war in Lebanon. They are fully immersed with the Israeli plan of escalation and warfare all across the entire region. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will present President Trump with evidence that Iran is successfully reviving its ballistic missile program as he seeks a green light for a new attack against Iran. Again, they're playing this whole game in the media right now. I see them putting out this story every other day. Actually, every single day, there's Israeli media, U.S. media saying that they're going to present these big plans to Trump, and Trump maybe doesn't actually want that to happen. But what I say is, Israel needs the U.S. They need the air defense support. They need the munitions. They need the missiles. They need the radar. They need the coordinates. They need the refueling tankers. Israel cannot go to war with Iran without U.S. support. So anything they're trying to build up right now, saying, oh, Trump actually doesn't want this, take that with a massive grain of salt. I don't believe it. I do believe that that's all just an effort to place the burden solely on Israel when actually the United States fully supports this entire operation, okay? Now, President of Iran, Masoud Pezeshkian, he came out today in an interview done with the media office of Iran. He said, we are in an all-out war with America, Israel, and Europe. This war is worse than the war Iraq waged against us, but we will overcome all difficulties, including sanctions. Until yesterday, they were saying Iran could collapse in 12 days. Now they claim 36 months, and if we stand together, they can't do a damn even in 36,000 years. We are now militarily stronger than we were at the time when the enemies attacked Iran. They want to engage. They will naturally face a more decisive response. Their hope is that something must happen from within, riots, protests, so that they can come and start an intervention. Now, strong words from the president of Iran. When the president of Iran got into power initially, this guy, when he came in replace of Raisi was a hardline principalist, hardliner, as the Western media referred to Raisi as. May he rest in peace. Masoud Pezeshkian represented a different wing of Iranian politics. He represented the reformists, or should I say the more liberal faction, the faction that has more of an oligarchical elite that it answers to, who has a lot of money that is currently seized and sanctioned by the United States abroad, right? So you can kind of understand. But after the 12-day war, when he was almost killed, right? I was invited to meet him in New York City at the UN General Assembly a few months ago. And although I wasn't there, my friends who did go to that meeting, what they told me, he said, was they wanted to kill me. They tried to kill me. I was injured in the 12-day war. This is the president of Iran they were trying to take out. And he said, I know they're going to kill me. He said, I know that Israel's going to kill me. I'm living on, bought time, or whatever the saying is. He knows that he is a dead man walking, essentially. That's given how much Iran has improved their air defenses and their internal security situation. Of course, the question of Su-35s from Russia looms. All of this stuff, he still knows that this is probably going to happen. Okay, he also said that Israel 100% is going to wage another war on Iran in the near term. Now, the reason why I want to talk about Iran right now and Israel is because there's something very interesting happening in the region. Last December, I made a prediction, and we're going to go through all my predictions from last year. But when Syria fell, I made the prediction that there would be a standoff between Turkey and Israel. At that point in time, Turkey was not doing a lot to counter Israel. In fact, a lot of Azerbaijani oil still flows through Turkey to Israel each and every day. But it became very clear that there were two superpowers, ostensibly, that have a lot at stake and in opposition with one another in the region, besides Iran and Israel. And those two belligerents, potentially, are Turkey and Israel. Turkey's said a lot of really nice things about Gaza, about Iran even, right? But in terms of actual substantive action, there's been very little, okay? Things I saw were beginning to change back last December. And it was because Turkey had overthrown Bashar al-Assad. Now, obviously, Israel, the UAE, Qatar were also involved, and the U.S., of course, were involved in the overthrow of Assad. But Turkey, their forces, was the main power that led to the overthrow of Assad. All parties that I just mentioned were involved in the effort, but they backed different groups in Syria. Okay? Turkey backed the groups, and I have no sympathy for this group, right? But they backed the group that now holds the power center in Damascus. And last December, it became very clear that Turkey wanted to move in and basically wipe out the Kurdistan separatists. They view them as terrorists that are backed by Israel right on their border in the north of Syria. Okay? That was their goal. And one could view this potentially as maybe the establishment of a neo-Ottoman empire. You have Turkey moving into Syria. Where do they go next? Okay, this does look like the foundation, and people in Turkey are talking like this is the beginning. They have some neo-Ottoman aspirations they're talking about. Israel, on the other hand, has what our good friend Professor Zhang, what he refers to as Pax Judaica, or Greater Israel, which is many things, but one of which is obviously the land grabs of the entire region. Greater Israel and a neo-Ottoman empire, they inevitably will clash with each other. They inevitably cause very big issues, okay? And really, when you think about it, it doesn't make sense that these countries that were created after World War, these tiny little landlord fiefdom countries, like all across the Middle East, the lines in many cases are fictitious. Large scale empires have ruled this region for generations and generations, and I would not be surprised to see this sort of thing happening once more. So there's been a lot of Israeli propaganda now 1 year since I made that prediction targeting Turkey. I'll go through some of it here for you. Breaking: Turkey is now viewed as the second biggest threat to Israel, according to most citizens. That was from Israeli Channel 14 this week. We also have this right here. Netanyahu warns Turkey's Erdogan, for those who dream of restoring the Ottoman Empire, this will not happen. Israel has also formed an alliance with Cyprus and Greece, two enemies of Turkey, obviously. So they're literally saying what we predicted a year ago. Now we have this. And this is where things get interesting, because as Turkey and Israel have this standoff, guess what Turkey is doing as Israel is threatening another war on Iran? Turkey is coming to the defense of Iran. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like Turkey is some benevolent actor and we should trust them now. I'm not going to sit here and say that. I don't think they're fully trustworthy. It's a NATO country. Come on. But the material situation in the region is forcing them to make calculated decisions which look as though it's actually tangible support for Iran, not just words. Israel's targeting Turkey's key foreign policy interests. Last week, Netanyahu strengthened defense agreements with Turkey's arch rivals, Greece and Cyprus. And now they have recognized Somaliland, a breakaway region of Somalia. Somalia is a key ally for Turkey in Africa because of its location, and Turkey has made some serious investments there. Israel will most likely arm Somaliland, Greece, and Cyprus to keep Turkey in check. As we also know, Somaliland is going to join the Abraham Accords. They're probably going to allow Israel to have some military installations at that Berber base. So there's a lot going on with Somaliland, as they call it now. On the flip side, Turkey is now deploying radars in Syria. Well, what's the purpose of that? Turkey's stated purpose of that, and Israel's fear of radars in Syria, and why Israel bombed anything and everything that moved in terms of arms, weapons, air defense, fighter jets in Syria after Assad was toppled, is that if there are radars in Syria, they can be used to defend Iran. Okay? It's not about Syria. It's about defending Iran from Israeli fighter pilots that wanted a clear shot, unobstructed path to fly over Syria and towards Iran. That's why radars are now being deployed in Syria by Turkey. There's more than that, though, okay? Now, this map isn't 100% correct, but it's a pretty good, it gives you a good idea of exactly what the region looks like right now, okay? So, obviously, Turkey and Israel. In Syria, you obviously have majority Turkish control of Damascus, but Israel and the UAE back their own units inside of Syria that are causing a lot of problems for Damascus. Me personally, I have no dog in the fight besides the Syrian people. I think all of these groups are criminal. In Libya, you'll also see that the UAE, MBZ, Mohammed bin Zayed, and Netanyahu have a very close, ironclad relationship. UAE is part of the Abraham Accord, so they work in unison basically everywhere against Turkey. In Libya, you have the UAE who's backing Khalifa Haftar, and you have Turkey, you have Erdogan that's backing the other government, okay? In Sudan, you have the UAE and Israel who are backing RSF, right? In Sudan. And you have Erdogan, you have the Russians, you even have the Iranians who defend the Sudanese government. In Somalia, you have Turkey who's backing forces within the government within the lower 2/3 of Somalia. UAE and Israel, they support and heavily invest, and now Israel officially recognizes the northern 1/3 of Syria of Somalia, where you have the Gulf of Aden flowing into the Red Sea, which is now defined as Somaliland by the Israelis. Okay, in Yemen, Turkey, I don't think they have bad blood with the government in Sana'a. But the UAE and Israel are backing proxy terrorist groups in Yemen that are obviously vehemently opposed to the Ansar Allah government in Sana'a. Turkey has close relations with Iraq. So you see that this power dynamic is playing out all across the entire region right now. Obviously, Iran and Israel are vehemently opposed to one another, but you also have a dynamic between Turkey versus the UAE and Israel. Okay? Now, there's more that Turkey is doing for Iran, some of which they disclosed regarding the 12-day war. Turkey revealed that during the 12-day war, they did more than provide just statements of condemnation for Israel. They also provided Iran with constant intelligence regarding the movement of weapons and personnel of subversive actors in Iran. So there's various groups in Iran that do terrorist attacks, and they're not like explicitly Mossad, but they are separatist forces that obviously collude with outside actors, with the United States, the CIA, Mossad. And Turkey had a lot of intelligence on some of these groups, and they were providing Iran with all of that information, where they were moving, what they were doing, what weapons they had, so on and so forth. Now, this is the craziest part of all. This week, Iran welcomed senior Turkish military officials in Tehran. Discussions were held on Israel's misadventures and other topics. This meeting with Turkish and Iranian military officials taking place right before we all know Israel's about to launch a new war on Iran and or Hezbollah is a massive, massive development, okay? It shows a huge level of coordination. Iran would not just be allowing any high-level military officials into their country. This is a big deal. Do not underestimate it. And also at the same time, you have the close coordination of Russia and Iran, which continues. We all know about the Su-35s. We have today, Iran launched three major 200 Kawsar high-resolution satellites into space by 2028. Today, they launched three of them. Here you have Iran launches 3 satellites into space aboard a Russian Soyuz rocket. That took place today. So you have the deepening of relations between Russia and Iran. A Russian military cargo jet landed in Isfahan again yesterday. And the reason why I'm talking about Russia here in particular and why it's important is because Russia and Turkey have been also deepening their relationship. Russia provided $9 billion in financing for the first Turkish nuclear plant. This is a massive investment. And Turkey's been very wishy-washy about Russia. We're going to join BRICS. I remember I was at the Metropole Hotel several months ago, and all the talk in the town was that Turkey is going to move to join BRICS. I saw the Turkish foreign minister with his entourage at the hotel in Moscow. And I'm like, wow, I guess it's really happening. They're having high-level meetings now. They didn't join BRICS. They're still a NATO member. There's still a lot of problems there. But the relationship is, in fact, deepening. And at the same time, despite the fact that obviously Russia wants to keep the U.S. happy, Trump happy, because there are active negotiations ongoing about Ukraine, Russia is actually now condemning the United States and Western powers, Israel at the United Nations Security Council for continuing to push this propaganda about Iran and their nuclear sites, hypersonic missiles. They're saying stop attacking Iran, stop holding meetings on the issue of the Iranian nuclear situation, because Iran is no longer party to this, because you all, the Europeans, the United States, you were the ones that violated the deal in the first place. Now, the last bit of information I want to share with you regarding this is that obviously the Lebanese Hezbollah disarmament deal officially is supposed to conclude by December 31st. Phase 3 of the deal, I believe it is, or phase 4 is supposed to conclude by December 31st. Israel has basically been indicating that Lebanon and Hezbollah are not agreeing to the deal, and they're not enforcing the deal, even though they are, actually. They definitely are. Even the U.S. has been pleased with the enforcement of the deal for Lebanese disarmament south of the Litani River in southern Lebanon. But Israel's still denying reality, and they keep saying, oh, well, we're going to launch a war if it's not fully implemented. Well, today, the Secretary General of Hezbollah, very close ally of Iran, obviously, works in close coordination, arms, so on and so forth with the Iranians. They said, the deadline for disarmament put by the Lebanese government will soon expire. Do whatever you must. Saddle your fastest horses and ally with the most despicable creation on the planet, Israel. But we will not disarm, nor retreat, nor surrender. We will defend. Of course, they've actually disarmed from south of the Litani River, but in terms of a total disarmament, first of all, it's a non-starter. It's impossible. You go to Lebanon, and like, if you're in Al-Dahiyah or if you're in the south of Lebanon, every single family is pro-resistance. So what, are you going to go knock home to home, knock on all the grandma's homes and say, are you storing weapons for the resistance? You know, it's like, it's crazy. But the fact that the Secretary General came out with this very powerful statement, it's actually very badass. I love this statement. Ride your horses, we will not surrender. That's just badass. That's like some of a movie line, right? Even Hollywood couldn't write that well. Probably because Hollywood hates people like the Lebanese resistance. But you have this going on, Lebanon. You have a standoff with Turkey, or the Neo-Ottoman Empire, as Netanyahu is referring to it as. You have Iran, a big standoff with Iran. You have Turkey and Iran getting closer. You have Russia and Iran deepening their military ties as these military cargo jets continue to land. You have Turkey and Russia deepening their ties. Israel recognized Somaliland. You guys, this all I know is a lot, but it's all happening at a very specific moment in a buildup to a balloon that's about to pop. I don't want you to miss it. I don't want you to be surprised about it. It's coming. And I think it's gonna be quite the show. I really do. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.